The game's outbreak takes place in 2013, while its post-apocalyptic narrative occurs in 2033. This was changed to 2003 and 2023 as the writers felt the story taking place simultaneously with the show's release was more interesting and real, and did not fundamentally change the story. The writers added the outbreak's origins to the series to ground the narrative. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, they recognized audiences are more knowledgeable about viral pandemics than they once were. Borrowing from an approach he had used in writing Chernobyl, Mazin began the series with a segment of fictional 1960s talk show explaining the origins of the fungal infection, implying humanity knew of the potential risk for some time. For the show, the writers removed spores as a vector through which the infected spread in the games, replacing with tendrils in the form of a unified, interconnected network inspired by the idea of mycelium. The writers felt the game's gas masks did not translate well into television, and spores were not as realistic a threat, and found replacing it with an interconnected network increased the tension. The writers avoided making a zombie show, acknowledging the infected creatures were ultimately a vessel through which the characters are pressurized to make interesting decisions and reveal their true selves. Santaella and David Fleming composed the score for the television series. The former wrote its opening theme. The first episode uses songs like Tomorrow by Avril Lavigne and White Flag by Dido to foreshadow Sarah's fate and Joel's character arc. Its final scene and credits feature the song Never Let Me Down Again by Depeche Mode, which Mazin chose to use to blend upbeat sounds and dark lyrics. The song returned in the 6th episode, performed by Mazin's daughter Jessica, to demonstrate Ellie feeling let down by Joel. The 3rd episode uses Long Long Time by Linda Ronstadt, which exhibits themes of unfulfilled love and how time heals wounds, echoing Bill and Frank's relationship. Streams of the song increased significantly following the episode's broadcast. Several outlets compared it to the 2022 resurgence of Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill after its use in the 4th season of Stranger Things. The 4th episode's title references the lyrics of Alone and Forsaken by Hank Williams, which is used in the episode. It was previously used in the original game and one of its trailers, and a trailer for the television series. The 7th episode features All or None by Pearl Jam to represent Ellie's loneliness and uncomfortability. It also reuses Etta James' versions of I Got You Babe from The Last of Us Left Behind, as its romantic lyrics, hidden by joyous music, mirrored the feelings of Ellie and Riley. And it uses Aha's Take On Me to reflect the feelings towards each other and illustrate Ellie's journey. A cover version, of course, of Take On Me was used in the trailer for the series, and Ellie performs the song in The Last of Us Part 2. Now, of course, having been a massive fan of both games in this wonderful series, I went into the show somewhat skeptical, as of course I unfortunately had watched Uncharted in 2022, and it was really anything but faithful to the wonderful gaming series. Unfortunately, Hollywood tends to miss the point on adapting games. For some reason, they choose to reinvent the stories and not follow the source material. Maybe it's due to arrogance or just not feeling that games are worthy of Hollywood's stature. The difference, though, in The Last of Us TV adaptation is that, firstly, the game's actual writer and lead creator, Neil Druckmann, is associated with the series in a very strong way. I feel allowing Druckmann to be involved in the series like he is, and even directing an episode, really makes the difference. At the end of the day, this is his creation. It's his baby, as it were, and he certainly wasn't going to let it out of his sight. This, for me, is arguably the greatest game adaptation I've ever seen made into a series, and I'm so glad they made it into a 9-episode television series rather than one long movie. The Last of Us is a nuanced, layered, complicated story that could never be covered over an hour-and-a-half movie. There are just so many aspects and different plot points within this multi-layered story that you can never truly capture the essence without telling the story over a 9-episode arc. Even for someone like me, who knows the story backwards, and knowing fully well exactly what was going to happen into each episode, I still sat there enthralled and smiling, loving exactly how well they were treating one of my absolute favorite games. The show treats the story with respect, it understands it, and it brings it to life absolutely perfectly, while even adding further with some wonderful backstory now to some characters that we barely got to know in the game, and even allowing us to understand fully what the cordyceps virus really is. This is a beautifully made, well-crafted, well-engineered show that it absolutely blew me away, and I loved every single episode, which is not easy to do when you really know what the plotline really is. Pedro Pascal is absolutely breathtaking here as Joel, and his chemistry here with Bella Ramsey just shoots off the screen. They literally steal every scene that they're in together, as they form this enduring, wonderful partnership. Pascal is an actor that literally seems to be able to play any kind of role that's given to him, but this for me is the defining performance of his career. His ability to portray the nuance, the layered aspects of Joel's character with this rare vulnerability is absolutely astounding. Now, initially for me, I was somewhat skeptical at seeing Bella Ramsey being cast as Ellie. She looked nothing like Ellie. She didn't seem like Ellie for me from the games. But I'm happy to say I was proven wrong, as Bella Ramsey wins you over as you watch her throughout the show. She starts, of course, as an obnoxious teenager, aggressive and swearing all the time, but later you see another aspect to her as you see her backstory. You see her sense of vulnerability, and you see her connection now that she develops with Joel. This is a breakout performance from Ramsey, who balances the comedy and emotion of the character perfectly. Their guest performances in the show were also excellent, from Parker holding the screen as Sarah in the first episode, where Anna Torv brings a sophisticated and heartbreaking portrayal here as Tess. Linsky's performance in the fourth and fifth episodes were excellent for juxtaposing humanity and viciousness, where Lamar Johnson and Kevon Montreal Woodward brought Sam and Henry to life with perfection. I also enjoyed Pascal and Luna's chemistry here, of course Luna playing Joel's younger brother, Tommy. Also, the chemistry here between Bella Ramsey and Storm Reed in episode 7 was superb and brought a youthfulness to the show. Even Scott Shepherd here playing the maniacal David brought a sense of unease to the show. Now, of course, being a big fan of the game, having some of the original voice cast from the game, for example in the case of Merlin Dandridge reprising a role of Marlene from the game, but in the others like Ashley Johnson playing now Ellie's mother, Troy Baker playing David's right-hand man, James, and Jeffrey Pierce playing Perry, a revolutionary rebel, was fun little tidbits. I, however, was very impressed by Ashley Johnson's performance in the final episode here, playing Ellie's mother in a very emotional scene. Each episode was absolutely magnificent, and most of them really stayed faithful to the original game. But for me, the one standout has to, of course, be episode 3. It reminded me so much of the movie Brokeback Mountain for some reason, as it tells a non-stereotypical love story between two gay men who fall in love in the most harshest of times and develop a life together. The episode is never schmaltzy, and it never overplays its hand, but rather it delivers a beautifully told love story in the midst of all this chaos and death on the world. You almost forget you're watching The Last of Us, as it becomes like its own little movie within the series. And the performances here by Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman are absolutely astounding. I found this episode so moving and emotional and groundbreaking for television. All in all, Last of Us is a faithful adaptation of a wonderful game story and one of my favorite games of all time. It captures the true essence of what is a fantastic, multi-layered, complex story about a man and a girl traversing a post-apocalyptic America and how they can still find some sort of humanity within each other. The add-ons are also truly fantastic and rather add to the story than pull it apart. The Last of Us is arguably one of the greatest games ever put together, and I'm so happy to see that the TV show captures every aspect of it in a perfect sense. The Last of Us gets a 10 out of 10.